Death to a Slave, episode 3.
You are now tuning into the Death to a Slave podcast. Keep your ears and eyes wide open. I go by the name of Luxury Codes because every environment I step into is luxurious.
This is Doc. I'm here with my wonderful co-workers, the Sacred Luxury Codes. We're here to build. We're going to chop it up, so don't go nowhere. Stay tuned.
Peace, everybody. My name is Sister Sacred. I'm clearly the goddess of the room, and I'm ready to dive into this episode today.
You are now listening to the Death to a Slave podcast, a show where we have unapologetic conversations about the Black experience in America, with the goal of creating a paradigm shift from slave ship to ownership. Let's talk about it.
How's everybody feeling today?
We live.
Yeah, we down here in Atlanta, Georgia, man. I'm feeling like big boy in ATL, a little parched. Let me take a second. So deep dive into another topic today. Consumerism, the new slaves. Woo.
Yeah.
Woo. It's gonna get deep. I think we should first start off with how to define consumerism. Because I mean, is consumerism really problematic? We live in a capitalistic society. We have to consume in order for it to continue to circulate.
I mean, I don't think consumerism is bad in itself. Like, we all wear clothing items, we buy quality. There's nothing wrong with consumerism, but I think overconsumption leads to, it becomes problematic. When we overconsume, or when it becomes materialistic, when we buy things that we don't need.
What about you?
It could be
Sister
wrong,
Sacred? What you thinking?
I think consumerism definitely has like a good, a bad, an ugly side. But again, we're talking about the Black community. So typically we do spend in excess beyond our basic necessities. So it is a big problem for us right now. And we'll get into it a little later, but if everyone's gonna consume, but I wouldn't want everyone to be 100% consumers. So
we're gonna, and you guys both made great points. We're gonna start with the definition of consumerism. Consumerism is the human desire to own and obtain products and goods in excess of one's basic needs. It is a way of life that exceeds any objective measure of need. So, I mean, as Da said, when it runs into being problematic is when consumerism transforms into overconsumption, which is therefore defined as materialism, and it becomes a disservice to our community, as we know.
Yeah.
So let's get into consumerism culture. What we witness on social media on a day-to-day.
People be capping, straight up. It's capping,
they be
capping hard.
They be capping. I think we should insert the Black Captain America
oh my gosh.
gif right here, guys. But yeah, they be capping. Talk about that, Doc.
I mean, if based on social media, everyone's living their best life. Everyone's going on vacation. Everyone's taking trips. Everybody's relationship goals, but that's not really the case. Like, if you peel back the onion, it's a filtered lifestyle that most times that's being portrayed on Instagram. So a lot of times people fall victim into having to keep up with the Joneses. Like, I got to show my new fit. I got to show where I went. And sometimes, we run into people who not rocking it's not their fit, or they borrowing they friend clothes, or they're not really where they say they was at, and that's a big part of the problem. Like, our appetite to look successful is more than our want to actually be successful, which is crazy.
Borrowing
Kanye said like this generation would rather look successful than actually be successful, and that's what we're seeing nowadays. To me,
borrowing clothes is nasty, by the way.
I
don't think grown men should be sharing clothes unless it's like you in a bind and you got to throw in a little T-shirt or something.
If you need a suit for a job interview, then yeah, maybe.
Yo, y'all shouldn't be sharing triple S Balenciagas, please. Come on, I know y'all doing it. I see y'all out there.
I did not know this was a thing.
People sharing Gucci belts.
Couldn't be me. But in order to define capping, capping is fronting, saying stuff that isn't true. For example, she said she won $1,000 yesterday. Why is she capping? She knows she ain't got no money. That's what Urban Dictionary says, guys.
Yeah, y'all are so silly. Let me add on to the consumerism culture, though. Like I said again, and you mentioned social media, it makes it seem like Black people are extremely wealthy. Everyone, has 6 figures, so forth, so on. But realistically, we know where Black wealth is. It's not really prevalent.
Right.
And so, we're not investing, we're not saving, we're just fast spenders, and we'll talk about that later. But that's a big part of the culture.
Interesting point you made, because spending or buying power and wealth are 2 different things.
Exactly.
And that's what we don't understand. We have buying power, we don't have wealth yet.
Exactly.
Excellent point. We're going to put that one on hold because you talked about consumerism culture and how we as a community have somewhat fell victim to it. So is it safe to say that we're slaves to this? Like, why are we scared of the word slaves? Why is the term new slaves used when discussing consumerism? And is it problematic? Is it not?
Well, I mean, before we dive into that, because you already know I'm going to bring a historical component to this, but I want to read a quote that Damon Dash said he met with a Jewish business person and what he said about Black people. So he stated, "We call you Black people liquid money. The same way that water falls out of a man's hand, money typically seeps out of the Black person's hand the same way. Your community gets money and immediately gives it away to people who are not Black. We see that as a huge business opportunity." This is we have a parasitic relationship with other races, right? We are the host that they thrive off of. That's number one. And that's happening currently.
That's deep.
Right? And then the historical component is, well, before I get there, you said, why are we scared of the word slaves? I don't know if we're necessarily scared of the word slaves. It's just triggering. Because a lot of people think about the physical bondage of being slaves, and we like to be reminded of where we came from, our origin. We were royalty before we were enslaved.
No doubt.
So I think people want to move forward instead of going back, but it's important for us to understand the modern day slavery.
Understood, but they go to every film, every Black film about slavery. They pull up to the theater, they watch it. I mean, I just see the hypocrisy. That's all I'm saying.
It's a little bit like, to some people, people have different triggers, and I think to some people it's kind of blasphemous to even compare or equate anything else to the actual experience of the transatlantic slave trade. So to compare anything else with that, to some people it's like, you can't get any worse than what we've already been through. You know what I mean? So I can see why some people might get triggered.
Well, that's up to your interpretation.
Not me, but
that's up to your interpretation, because at the end of the day, economic slavery is deep.
Yeah,
it's deep rooted,
real.
not only within our culture, but largely within a white supremacist society. And that is how that continues to extend into this millennia.
Right.
So,
But that's a problem, though. Like, we have to stop just only thinking about slavery as, physical bondage. Like, there are invisible chains here. These systems have been created to, they seem like they're not harming us, but they are. Like, people have to realize that it is modern day slavery. We're still held in captivity in so many different ways to the white society. So
yeah, I mean, even outside of, just take consumerism. If you look at the system of consumerism, as a whole, it's predatory. Like, I'm not against consumerism. Like, I wish we would be a part of it. But if you look at consumerism, I mean, nowadays, credit cards, Afterpay, Affirm, all of these are different ways and methods for us to afford things and live beyond our means. There are times where we might want to manage something outside of our means and use credit, but for the most part, we're using it excessively to live outside of our means, to buy clothes and maybe houses that we can't afford. Like, there's nothing wrong with getting those items, obviously, but if it's outside of your means, that's when it becomes problematic. And I think that's what we allow with consumerism.
And I'm not here to judge, but I know people personally that, you look at them through social media and they look like they have it all, but you go to their homes and they don't have food. You know what I'm saying? Or they can't pay their bills. This is what I'm talking about. Like, this is going back to the culture. Like, you need to take care of your basic needs first.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're worried about how other people perceive you before you take care of your household. That does not make sense to me. That goes back to investing, saving, taking care of your basic necessities before you splurge.
Heard.
To people that don't even give a damn about you.
It's funny because Drake got a bar about that in a recent song where he's like, you got a crib downtown, but she ain't got no furniture. Oh, man. But I don't mean to get off topic, but I think you were touching on a great point, Sister Sacred. It's the conditioning that we have experienced. We are conditioned at a young age to build debt as opposed to build assets. And I think you can speak a bit more to the historical context of that all. So,
right after the Civil War, right, policies were implemented to essentially help newly emancipated slaves to acquire wealth. And that was through the Freedmen's Bank, right? Doesn't make any sense at all. You just freed these slaves and they have nothing. And so we were supposed to get the 40 acres and a mule. That didn't happen. So this was the alternative to put newly emancipated slaves to work so that they can earn wages, then to use that bank, put their money in the bank. But it was a mess because the bank ended up collapsing, right? They didn't have any black owners. It was ran by all white people, right? And so when the bank collapsed in 1874, it started in 1863, I want to say. It had about 70,000 depositors, black depositors, right? And so when they saw that the bank was failing, they brought in Frederick Douglass to actually be a director of the bank.
When it was failing?
When it was failing. He actually personally invested $10,000 into the bank to encourage black people to use the bank. That didn't work anyhow because there were the white people who were actually in control of the bank. They ended up loaning the money to their white, colleagues. Damn. So they were using our funds.
They took their money and loaned it to them.
I'm talking about Fred? That's my dog.
Well, I was talking about the first. I can't deal with you. So ultimately, the bank failed. 70,000 depositors. They lost about $3 million, and that's equivalent to about, what is it today? About 70 million today. Yeah. So that's unfortunate. So what that created was black people had a distrust in banks. We became fast spenders. So once we got our money, we spent it fast, and so we're still doing that today. This is a part of the conditioning that we were talking about earlier, that people don't get it. Like, it is modern day slavery. We're still like this. And then when we spend our money, we don't spend it with black enterprises, which goes back to history again, because after the Civil War, we had to receive a stamp of approval from whites to even sell our produce to black people. We had to receive their approval. We're still doing that today. And that was destroying the black enterprise. So we're today, we get our money, we spend it fast, and we spend it with white businesses majority of the time. So that's why
that conditioning there. So I took this course in college called Representing Black Men. I think I may have mentioned it on another episode. But I learned a bit about these archetypal stereotypes of black people. One of those was the black dandy. And I learned a bit about dandyism. Shout out to my professor, Calvin Warren. He's like a super smart guy, and he was so dope. He even told us a story about like wearing a do-rag to class to kind of like upset the status quo, and then he would just bar their head off with words. But anyway.
I hope I said that'd be a good combo.
Yeah, that'd be a great combo. But dandyism. Black men in the United States have used clothing as a means of distinction since the days of slavery, when freed slaves would dress in their best garments to exercise a privilege not afforded to those enslaved. So when you talk about product and you talk about consumerism, and we talk about this desire to get drippy, a lot of that is predicated in communicating that identity, that respectability. It goes back to respectability politics. So I just wanted to make note of that. But yeah, you guys have any thoughts on dandyism and that socio-historical context and how it relates to us today?
It's a thin line, like with dandyism. I do understand, like, I've been in environments where I might have been one of the few black people there, or business environments or work or what have you. And, I do understand, like, wanting to and having to stand out and move a certain way to where it's like, sometimes you feel like you have to differentiate yourself from the stereotype that people may perceive you as. So I get, like, I got to be on my P's and Q's, like, be a certain way, I got to move a certain way. But if, I think if you're looking for that stamp of approval, that's when it becomes problematic. Like, I'm not here so you could accept me and I could be the prim and proper token black guy. Like, that's not, what we're here for. And I think sometimes we find ourselves caught up in that race, and I think that's problematic.
And I think we're taught that, like when I was in my graduate program, we were always, they beat it inside of us to say, you know, you're gonna be seen first before you're heard. And it's ridiculous because I go to these other institutions and they're not dressed up at all. And you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that doesn't change anything.
Right.
So I don't think, I mean, on top of dandyism, we're taught that. It's ingrained in us. Like people always tell us you're gonna be seen first. It's okay to, of course we're gonna look decent, but they want you to be all dapper all the time, but it's not always necessary. That's what I think.
New slaves. So I guess it's safe to say that Ye wasn't wrong. You know, we like to say Ye's wrong about a lot of things, man. But was he wrong?
He called it. He called it 2013. Shit, 2013 he called it.
Yes. I think we need to go back to what Mimi and what Sister Sacred. I'm screaming out your government. I don't know if that's cool. You know what I'm saying?
That's not my
But that's not your government, so we
So
good.
we
We good. We straight.
Still good.
So we good.
We still good.
Yeah. But the whole idea of buying power versus actual wealth, the good life, or the lit life, the Gucci belt complex. You know what I'm saying? Good Gucci, good Louis, good Burberry.
You're a mess.
Yeah.
I'm done. I don't know I don't know how many, the percentage of black people who are buying Gucci. Apparently, according to y'all, we're sharing our products anyways from Gucci. But what I don't understand.
Bad work. It's bad work out there.
What I don't understand is like, why are black people so supportive of these brands like Gucci when I don't feel like they represent us? Or I would think that you would want to, buy from different brands or stores that are more relatable to you. I don't understand that complex. I don't get it.
It's I mean, it goes. That's a bigger conversation on just luxury items in general, but you know, luxury items, the luxury market, that's all aspirational. So even like these brands like Gucci, Louis, Burberry, they're not targeting the rich, affluent consumer. They're targeting the person that finds it aspirational to want that Gucci belt or that Louis bag. That's what they're targeting. And
so they weren't, okay, so I think, is there not a recent shift? So I feel like initially they weren't targeting, of course, they're not designing this apparel for black people, but now recently you see they're adapting, they're changing their designs so that more black people can purchase their items. Is that not true?
So two things I'm saying. So the luxury market, they're not targeting the rich, affluent consumer. They're targeting the person who finds it aspirational and finds value in getting a $300 belt to wear in front of their friends. Like, so I think there's that. And like to your point, like recently there was a point where the luxury market, you wouldn't see black people in the ads. You wouldn't see, not too many black designers. Now you look at Louis Vuitton scooping up Virgil, look at Travis Scott working with Dior, like Gucci working with Dapper Dan. This would have never happened 10, 15 years ago. But I think now, to me, that market started dying out, and they're using hip hop culture, using black folks to make it cool. Like I remember if you look at Off-White in 2015, 16, they were actually getting like a big market, starting to get a market share in that luxury market. And I mean, I was reading articles, they was starting to inch up on Gucci and Louis Vuitton and all that. So rather than, keep them as competition, what does Louis Vuitton do? They hire Virgil. Now he's head designer, he's putting hip hop artists in the ads, walking in the shows. That's happening with Gucci, it's happening with other brands too. So if that's...
Well, to provide some context to this particular conversation, I think that the aristocratic client, the elite client, the what's the proper term? The opposite of proletariat, the bourgeoisie. The bourgeoisie already has what they need from the luxury market. They have a Burberry trench. They have an Hermes bag or Hermes scarf. They have a vintage Gucci piece. They have the Louis Vuitton Damier print bag. You know what I'm saying? So this market today is more so predicated on, like you said, hip hop culture, drop culture, collaborations, media. It's about creating the moment more so than it is about the product itself. And like you said, Dot, it is aspirational, and it is about the perception and the mysticism of what luxury actually is. But I mean, I got a counterpoint. to all of this, like, we come from kings and queens, right? We royalty, right? Mm-hmm. So is it not in our DNA to subscribe to a life of luxury? It's not only what we aspire to, but it's also a part of our history. It's an integral part. We wouldn't be who we are. Gold soul theory, you know, we wouldn't be who we are without this proximity to what we perceive to be luxury. So like, I like luxury shit. I like fly shit, me personally. I got fly shit. I got luxury shit.
The problem isn't with luxury. The problem is when overconsumption becomes problematic.
No doubt.
The problem isn't luxury. I'm not even against consumerism. Like, I would like to be a player in consumerism. Like, I think we should be players. I'm not against it, but when it becomes inordinate and, you know, it leads to debt or stress or mental health issues, or you feel like you got to put other things, move other things around just to buy certain items, it's problematic. Like, I
think there are two sides of the coin, because a lot of niggas getting money. Be real with you. Nowadays, cryptocurrency, hustling, like, they coming up to the store with real money.
I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with, like, I buy nice items too, like I consume too. But all I'm saying is, even if you're getting money, if it's a parasitic relationship where I don't care if you're getting money or not, if you're spending more money with brands and with other companies than than investing in yourself or investing in becoming a player, then you're just still giving your money out, and we're not creating black wealth. It goes back to the point of buying power. Yeah, we got more buying power, but there's no black wealth. Like, if we like these items, we love these items. I love fly shit, but I want to be a maker of fly shit too, so people can consume it. Look at black culture, hip hop culture. We just said it. If they could use us in Louis Vuitton and Dior, all these ads now, why the hell can't we make our own brands and like our own luxury brands that the world consumes? That's my point.
And that was my point. Like, is it advantageous, these collaborations really? I don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have black designers that make high quality products. We should be supporting them. That's why I don't understand. Is the collaborations really advantageous to the black community? And I'm okay with the question. Yes, we do deserve a luxury lifestyle. I'm okay with you purchasing one item, 2 items, whatever. But going back to Dot's point, you can't be moving your other finances or things around that you should be taking care of first. It goes back to priorities, right? Make sure those are met. But you can't, I don't have a problem with, our black people having these luxury lifestyles, but it goes to who are you supporting?
Yeah, I hear what y'all saying. I'm just presenting the other side. But I think to surmise what you guys were both stating is it's more so about finding the equilibrium between consumption and production in this very hyper-commercialized industry that we live in. And we have to shift that mentality of get rich or die trying, shout out to Fifth, to breaking the cycle of poverty and building generational wealth. And you would like to say something?
Yeah, and I know we're only speaking about luxury as far as brand, but there's a whole, I guess I don't want to say movement, but this trend going around saying black women need to normalize luxury lifestyles or whatnot. So I don't think people are only defining luxury as having Gucci, Louis Vuitton, but I think they're just saying to make sure you don't overwork yourself and not reward yourself.
Absolutely.
So whether that's vacations, going to retreats, things of that sort, I think that's a part of people's definition of luxury too. Because for me, I do think I deserve a luxury lifestyle, but that doesn't consist of me buying Gucci. You know? So I think we need to put that into context as well and make sure we speak upon that. But it's not only fashion, it's about other things in life as well.
Oh, but to speak about fashion, I know a thing or two.
No, you're fine.
A little bit of an expert when it comes to this. But I read an interesting book, How Luxury Lost Its Luster, a couple years back by Dana Thomas. I think you picked it up yourself.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Just to provide some context of what this conversation stems from. Luxury started off very aristocratic. Meaning it was catered to a very specific demographic, individuals who you would classify as the elite, the bourgeoisie. But nowadays, A lot of luxury brands have cut corners, just like most modern day businesses. Like we were just out at a restaurant the other day and we felt like they skimped us on the food, right? You know what I'm saying? So luxury brands are like, the whole idea is to maximize profit and limit labor. You know what I'm saying? So
there's brands who put made in Italy on their items. They literally make it in like Bulgaria or like another
China.
country. Like they'll make the pieces there. Like they'll take the top of the shoe and the sole, make it in another country, ship it to Italy, to put it together, and then they'll put made in Italy. That's literally going on right now.
yeah, you're
I mean,
absolutely
like,
right. That was one of the
People,
critiques.
we buying into anything that's luxury. Like I'm into quality. I mean, like I don't mind.
Talk that talk, bro. Get it off.
Like I'll spend a little more on quality because I know that it lasts. Like you buy cheap, you buy twice.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm into quality more than just a name or a label
Talk to him, King.
on my drink. You know.
For sure. I think, and you made a great point to elaborate on it. The expert Dana Thomas, she's a Newsweek writer as well. She reminded us that in her notable critique, that one, inferior fabrics and materials are being utilized. Production is being outsourced to developing countries, as you stated. Hand craftsmanship has transformed to assembly production, and price points have been raised exponentially. So what is it that we're actually consuming? That's the real question. And I think in many cases, we're consuming a perception of luxury that we have been conditioned to believe is luxury. But Mimi, what is true luxury?
I already said what I had to say, but for me, it's about investing in things that allow you to recenter yourself. I'm not a materialistic person, so I get what you all are saying when you're coming from the fashion world, that industry, but that's what it means to me. That's high quality to me. I mean, you guys can define what the general population believes what luxury is, but for me, it's very different.
So what is it? Talk about it.
Luxury is even it's lifestyle. It's like even to down to like to me, right? I like nice items, but to me, the thing what kind of keeps me balanced is that I feel like there's no way I'm gonna spend money on like nice clothes and decent items and put bad stuff in my body. So so I feel like just as much as I can invest in clothing items, I'm serious about what I eat. And to me, that's a part of luxury too, like being able to say, okay, I want to get the freshest of foods. I want to, watch out for what I'm eating. Like, I take it that serious, and to me, it's the same importance that I take into buying a quality shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What
So
health is with?
luxury is
with
just
you.
being able to it's about your lifestyle, your quality of living.
I'm gonna throw you a oop. Home. How important is a home to you?
How important a home is to me? Very important. Because that's something that I can pass down to my kids.
Okay.
It's a part of generational wealth. That's very important to me. That's why I say I'm not really materialistic. And going back to what you said about food, health is wealth. And so I'm really key on that. And right now, I'm really focused on investing in myself. I do deserve really nice things. And my fiance really is key in helping me purchase things for myself when I'm like, because I really grew up in a frugal household. So I'm trying to get away from that, knowing that I do deserve nice items sometimes, and it's okay to purchase things because sometimes I'm taken back. So for me, health is definitely wealth. Trying to go ahead and get my home, purchasing a car, that comes first before all these materialistic things.
So the $1 million question is, how do we achieve this newfound definition of luxury that we stumbled upon?
Honestly, I think it goes back to our value system, right? Like, if you look at what luxury is, or how luxury began, it's a value system. It entails a process, right? Whether it's food, food initially wasn't made for mass consumption. Like, you went to your local butcher or your local market, and you got your fruits, your vegetables, or your meats, and it was a local thing. Like, your farmer, farmed, he brought it to that was a process. But clothing wasn't initially made for mass consumption until we had factories. But there was a point where everything was made and produced locally, and you went to your tailor and you got your item, made. I think we've gotten away from that. I guess capitalism played a role into that, and I'm not anti-capitalism, but that played a role into that. So now, I guess going back to that being a part of the process, it's a difference between getting like an off-the-rack suit and a custom-made suit. I think we have to value ourselves as well, like the intrinsic value that we place on ourselves. Like, I value myself, I value my black dollars, so I'm not gonna spend it frivolously with a company who, one, cuts corners on quality, or two, just plainly doesn't respect black folks. So I think it goes back to the value system, and we gotta look at that, you know what I mean?
I mean, to add on to that, I think everybody has a position to play. I think oftentimes a team don't need 5 point guards.
True.
A team don't need 5 centers. That doesn't work in the grand scheme of things. It's we have to stray away from individualism, stray away from tribalism, and think nationhood. Because oftentimes it's too many of us trying to play the same position. Like, I mean, a primary solution to circulate the black dollar is, bam, we have a designer. Bam, we have a videographer. Bam, we have a photographer. We have someone in textiles. And then we have a writer. All of those pieces together, that's a team. That's a point guard, that's a 2 guard, that's a forward, that's a 5. That's everything you need in order to win a championship. But oftentimes we duplicate ourselves.
We keep trying to reinvent the wheel.
I mean, I think we used to be like that. We were very prosperous after we emerged from slavery. Like, we had 60 black-owned towns, but as you know, they always got destroyed. We had our own. Everything was locally, but it was a threat to white people for money to be in our hands. So I think that's what happened. We were beaten. That was beaten out of us. It was literally burned. Our towns was burned. So over the time, I just think now we have this individualistic, like what you were saying, mindset, and we don't know how to do for self anymore, do for the black community anymore.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, like Ish was saying, but with the collective mentality. Like just being out here in Atlanta, like, we see glimpses of it now where there's pockets of, there's black communities, there's black homeowners, I think they're building a mall out here, which is pretty dope. Like, just that community mindset of like, okay, we're building a community. It's not just me, or we're stronger together than we are apart. Like, understanding each other's talents and, just having that community mindset, I guess will help us stray away from valuing, these brands or the appearance of looking successful so much. You know what I mean? Because we'll be so busy working that, that doesn't, keeping up with the Joneses isn't a thing.
Sister Sacred always makes a conscious effort to support black businesses. I think she told me one time that our community should dive into the concept of conscious consumerism and not necessarily just spend our money all willy-nilly. Spend with each other, man. Support each other. Like, get that. And then it's not even always about spending, bro. Exactly. It'd be so difficult for a motherfucker to like something on Instagram, bro. It'd be difficult for someone to like repost to share. It'd be like, man, that shit is free, bro. Yeah. It's free. It just, if you understand algorithms and metrics, that shit is helpful. But and on top of it, it's free.
True.
So I think we just gotta get out of this. Yo, you don't. I think I learned that from Paid in Full. You shouldn't compete with your bros. You should eat with your bros.
Facts.
And oftentimes we lose that, man. It's always about like being the guy, or in some cases being the girl. You know what I'm saying? And it's individualism that we got to get out of. And I think that's where it starts. Circulating the support, circulating the dollar. And I don't know if you have anything to say about that, Sister Sacred.
No, I mean, I think what you were just saying about the things that are free, repost, liking, sharing. I just think, that's all a part of the slave mentality that we're trying to beat out of the people in the black community, right? Like, there's so much envy. It's so difficult for us to support one another without even spending $1. Like you said, we give you products for free. You can't even give me a decent repost or reel or anything, I just don't get it. But, we have to just shift our mentality totally and stop hating one another. Like, going back to supporting these brands that they're literally making money off of our creativity. Like, why don't you support brands that,
that are actually creative?
Exactly.
That are actually creative. It's the value system. We don't value each other enough. That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, to bring it back to a more positive light, I think the solution it starts with dialogue like this. We want to lead conversations that have impact on brands, policies, because we do as a community. So if we talk, our voice is loud. I mean, you said buying power. Buying power, despite it not being equal to wealth, it's loud.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
when
yeah.
you start buying with one another, it's just like, whoa, this is a little scary. What's going on here? So I think it all starts with us changing this mentality, us consuming with one another, us producing more, us owning more. So I think that pretty much wraps up our conversation. And I think we really dug into what our podcast is all about today. Death to a slave. We got to kill that slave mentality, man. So do any of us have any parting words?
I just want to say, listen, make sure you invest in your Black communities, locally, regionally, nationally, what have you, because really, do not get tripped up on what you see on social media.
Facts.
Okay, because with the way we're trending right now, the downward trend that we're on, based on the data, by 2053, there will be maybe 0% of Black wealth. So let's understand that we need to start investing in one another, because I'm just giving you what the facts say. So. Heard you.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say like I said earlier, we got to value ourselves more, and not to delve on a negative connotation. I think. As a positive, we're in a new generation, in a new era where technology is easily accessible. Exactly. The ability to work with someone in another country or another state is way easier than it was years ago. I think we need to get busy on like working with each other, not reinventing the wheel, and really building industries. Like, there's been Black designers, there's been Black people in the food industry, in all these industries since the 60s and 70s. They have varying degrees of success. We don't need to reinvent the wheel and do it all over again. Like, we need to actually start owning these industries and getting a chunk of the pie. But not anti-consumerism, but it's just the inordinance of it. So I think we need to be more players and have products or goods and services that people can consume, so that we don't have this parasitic relationship where we're where we, like you said, where our wealth is dwindling literally by the numbers, but we look fresh as hell. So it's like, we got to look at that relationship again. But I think we can, and I think this generation is ripe for it. We got the tools, but we got to get to work.
You got to pay for it.
Yeah, I think we get too wrapped up in fast money. Like, fast money is momentary.
It is.
But real talk, the process is fun as shit. Like, creating from the ground up, and getting better. Like, I play ball, so I just know how it felt to be trash 1 second, and then like you start to put in the work, and then all of a sudden start paying off. You start knocking down shots, you're doing a side step, you're like, it's paying off, and that will bring you more gratification long term than you just, I'm in it to get this is a hustle. I'm in it to get this next buck. I'm in it to spend it, and then you depress the next second. So, with that being said, like, have fun with the fucking process, man. And that will wrap up episode 3 of Death to a Slave podcast. Deuces, y'all. A Black father can't be there for his Black son the way he would like to be. A Black father can't be there for his daughters and show them a representation of a man the way he would like to be, because of a bigger problem at hand. So it's like we talking about the same thing.
I know we are.
You talking about what's important.
Yeah.
The household is very important.
That's the most important. Yeah.
But it's like it's kind of on us. It's kind of on like individuals like myself to position myself a certain way and be an example. At the end of the day, it's a lot of responsibility. We need heroes. You need superheroes. You need Black superheroes. You just do. That's why like Black Panther was so important to see from a visual perspective to people, because it's an opportunity for us to like know who we are, like what we can achieve. You know what I'm saying? Even from a film cinematic perspective. So you're absolutely right.